There's a topic in art that I don't think I've ever heard many people talk about, but it's kind of an important one, and that's drawing anxiety. Not to be confused with art block, which I usually define as a skill issue. With drawing anxiety, it's basically that feeling you get when you finish an artwork and then you get scared to work on another one. This is actually a really common thing, but it's also easy to get over once you understand why it happens. The first thing you should know is that this doesn't happen with just art. This happens with anything that involves learning. And actually, the thing that got me to start thinking about this topic was I recently started learning how to play Guilty Gear Strive. I was playing ranked, and initially I was ranking up pretty easily, so I just kept playing with no issue. But then eventually I hit a wall. To get past that wall, I'd have to practice and learn more, which is what I did. But what happened is I started to get scared to play ranked. I think the main reason why is because I didn't want to lose, because I thought losing would mean that my practice didn't do anything and I got worse. When you're starting out with art, it's the same thing. You practice, then you spend a lot of time making an artwork. After finishing it, you might start feeling scared to make another one. Now, there could be a bunch of reasons why. Like I said before, I think the main reason why is because you spend a lot of time practicing and you want to see improvement so that time doesn't go to waste. But whatever the reason is, the end result is that you're scared to draw more. But here's the main thing you need to understand. The quality of your finished drawing is not an indication of how good you are. In the same way that your rank in a fighting game is not an entirely accurate measure of how good you are. Because with these skills, there are so many factors that come into play. With a fighting game, there are a bunch of different characters and they all require different counterplay strategies. On top of that, every player has their own playstyle, which again require different counterplay strategies. So when you're playing against somebody and you lose, it's not necessarily that you're worse than the other person. They might just be doing stuff that you don't know how to play against yet. You have to spend time learning that, which will make you a better player. With art, you might be used to drawing characters in this pose, but if you change the pose and the angle, it's a completely different pattern that you need to learn, and until you learn it, your final drawings will appear to be worse. So basically, there's no reason to worry about what your final artwork will look like. If you keep practicing correctly, you're gradually going to improve and your art will gradually improve as well. Alright, now I'm going to show you guys an exercise that will help you never have this problem again. So I need you guys to draw along with me, and you can pause the video whenever you want, obviously. So just grab a separate sheet of paper. I don't really recommend using a sketchbook for what we're going to do. Alright, so here's the reference that we're going to be working off of, and we're just going to make a quick sketch of just a random character. So first thing I would recommend doing is just marking how big you want everything to be proportioned. So in this case, we're going to have the head be one of the biggest parts of the image, and then we're going to cut off the drawing right around the level of the bottom of the rib cage. Now, when it comes to drawing the head, I usually get the entire or get the overall form of the head down first, instead of doing something like the Loomis method, which you could do. And I think if you're going to make the head one of the biggest parts of the image, that is probably the best thing you can do. But if you're drawing a body along with it, I think it's easier if you just draw the form of the head. Now here we're going to figure out the angle of the shoulders, as well as figure out where the spine needs to go. When you're connecting the neck to the head, by the way, make sure that the neck isn't too far to one side. In this case, for example, the chin will basically line up with one of the outlines of the neck, because if you place the chin too far to the right, the neck won't look like it's lining up anymore. If you're drawing the torso, you could also start with a center line, which I did right there. But I didn't draw the whole center line, so technically you could draw that whole center line, and that's going to help you keep everything symmetrical. When drawing the arms, it might also be a good idea to first mark what direction the arm should be going. So instead of immediately drawing the outlines, first draw, I guess, kind of the middle line of the arm, which will serve as a guide when you're drawing the actual outlines. With the elbows, also keep in mind that they're not going to be horizontally aligned. The arm that's on our right is going to be a bit higher than the elbow of the arm that's on the left side, because the shoulder that's on our right side is raised. So that angle that we have between the shoulders, you could draw that exact same angle in between both elbows. Then here we're going to decide how the eyes should be angled. One thing you need to keep in mind is that the center line of the face, which we drew at the start, needs to kind of make a 90-degree angle with that eye line. But seeing as how we're dealing with perspective, it's not going to be a true 90-degree angle, so you have to kind of treat it like a 90-degree angle in perspective, which might be a little difficult if you're just starting out, but the main thing is that it works similarly to how a box works. So if you want to practice anything, then boxes would be a good thing to start with. When you're drawing the eyes, I also recommend drawing a line at the bottom of the eyes and drawing a line at the top of the eyes, because that way you can keep both eyes symmetrical. What happens a lot is that people draw one of the eyes first, and then when they draw the other eye, it ends up being too small or too big. So if you draw two lines to keep those eyes aligned, you can, it kind of helps you to make them symmetrical. When you're going to draw the hair, it's a good idea to first decide the volume of the cranium, or I guess draw the volume of the cranium, because the hair obviously sits on top of the skull. So if you have that volume decided, it'll be easier to figure out how much volume you need to give the hair. A lot of people immediately go into drawing the hair from, starting from like the forehead, they immediately go into drawing the hair. But if you don't imagine how big the skull needs to be, it's kind of hard to give it the right amount of volume. Now, this is just a rough sketch, so if you want, you could do a second pass and just clean up your lines and make a proper drawing out of this. So I would say you can pause the video right here, clean everything up, and then move on to the next part of the video. Okay, so we finished the drawing. Now, here's what I want you to do. Basically, the point I'm trying to make is that I think in the beginning, people get way too attached to the drawings that they make, and if you want to get better, you just have to let them go. Eventually, once you already have a decent amount of drawing experience, it's fine to get attached to drawings that you spent a lot of time and effort on, but in the beginning, you just have to keep drawing. As an exercise, that's what I want you to do. The next time you finish a drawing and you're proud of it, rip it up and throw it away. You have to learn that you can do better. If you keep practicing, in the future you're going to look back at these old artworks and think, wow, those look awful. But that's only going to happen if you can accept that your work can always get better. But anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Kind of a different video compared to usual. But let me know in the comments what you want to see next. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like. You can join the Discord through the link in the description. You can also support the channel through YouTube memberships. And I guess I'll catch you all in the next video.